Did Bambi really cross the line with Spice's man? Because if the whispers coming out of Atlanta are even half true, this might be one of the messiest love and hip-hop scandals fans have seen in years. It all started with a few suspicious glances, a late-night studio session, and one moment that had everyone talking. At first, people brushed it off as typical reality TV rumors. But when a video clip from an after-party started circulating among cast members, everything changed. Suddenly, fans were asking the same explosive question. Was Bambi getting a little too comfortable with Spice's man? Sources close to the cast claim the tension had been building for weeks. Bambi, who has always been known for her bold personality and unfiltered opinions, had reportedly been spending more time around Spice's inner circle. Meanwhile, Spice, never one to tolerate disrespect, had already been dealing with pressures from her career, family drama, and the constant spotlight of reality TV. But when word reached her that Bambi and her man had been spotted together, alone, the atmosphere instantly turned icy. "Tell me it's not true," one cast member reportedly heard Spice say backstage during a rehearsal. "Because if it is, somebody's about to get exposed." Fans are shocked, insiders are whispering, and the love and hip-hop Atlanta circle is buzzing with accusations. Some say it was all a misunderstanding, others insist there's much more to the story than anyone realizes. And when the confrontation finally happened, emotions ran high, voices were raised, and the entire group was left divided. So what really happened between Bambi and Spice's man? Was it innocent, or the beginning of a betrayal that could tear friendships apart? Because according to people who witnessed the drama firsthand, this story is far from over, and the truth behind that night might be even more explosive than anyone expected. The whispers started quietly, almost like background noise that nobody took seriously at first. In Atlanta's tight love and hip-hop circle, rumors came and went every week, and most of them faded before they ever reached the cameras. But this one felt different. People weren't just gossiping, they were watching how Bambi moved, watching how Spice reacted, and most importantly, watching how Spice's man seemed to suddenly appear in the same places as Bambi. It all began during a late-night studio session on the north side of Atlanta. Producers, artists, and friends were hanging around the studio lounge while Spice was finishing vocals in the booth. The energy was calm, almost relaxed. Bambi had shown up earlier that evening with a few friends, saying she was just there to support the session and hang out. But according to people who were there, something about the vibe shifted when Spice's man walked in. "I didn't even know he was coming tonight," one of the engineers later whispered to a friend. But the second he walked in, Bambi looked up like she was expecting him. At first, it seemed innocent. The room was full of people, music was playing, drinks were being passed around, and everyone was laughing. Bambi greeted him with a quick hug, the kind that could easily be mistaken for friendly energy between people who had known each other for a while. But some people noticed that the hug lasted just a little longer than usual. Spice, still inside the booth, didn't see any of it. When she finally stepped out to listen to the playback, the room erupted with compliments. Everyone was hyping the track, clapping, telling her she had another hit on her hands. Spice was glowing with confidence, smiling as she leaned back in her chair. "That one going straight to the top," someone shouted. Bambi laughed loudly from the couch. "I already told you Spice don't miss." Everything seemed normal, but behind the laughter, subtle looks were being exchanged across the room. Because while Spice was focused on the music, Bambi and Spice's man were already deep in conversation. Nobody could hear exactly what they were saying, but people noticed how close they were standing. Every few seconds, Bambi would lean forward, saying something that made him laugh. One of the assistants later described the moment. "It wasn't loud flirting or nothing crazy like that," she said, "but it was comfortable, too comfortable." About 20 minutes later, Spice stepped outside to take a phone call. The moment she left the room, the energy shifted again. Bambi walked over to the snack table where Spice's man was standing. "So you finally showed up," she said with a smirk. He laughed quietly. "I told you I might slide through." A nearby producer raised his eyebrows but kept pretending to scroll on his phone. Bambi grabbed a drink from the table and leaned against the counter. "Atlanta small," she said. "We always running into each other." He took a sip of his drink. "Or maybe you just everywhere." She laughed at that. Across the room, two girls sitting on the couch looked at each other immediately. "Did you hear that?" one whispered. "Girl, I'm hearing everything." The conversation between Bambi and Spice's man didn't last long. After a few minutes, they separated and went back to mingling with the rest of the group. But the moment had already been noticed. When Spice returned to the room, she didn't seem suspicious at all. She sat down beside Bambi and started playing the track again from her phone. "Listen to this part," Spice said excitedly. I changed the hook. Bambi leaned closer to hear it. Oh, that hard, she said. That gonna go viral? Spice smiled proudly. For the rest of the night, things seemed calm. People talked, laughed, and eventually began leaving the studio one by one. But what happened next is where things started getting strange. Around 2 a.m., the studio was almost empty. Spice had left earlier with her manager to handle some business calls. Only a few people remained inside the lounge. And somehow, Bambi and Spice's man were still there. The security guard later said he saw them walking out of the building together, not holding hands, not looking suspicious, just talking quietly as they headed toward the parking lot. I thought nothing of it, the guard said later. People leave together all the time. But someone else in the building happened to notice it too. One of the makeup artists had been waiting outside for her ride. As she scrolled through her phone, she looked up just in time to see Bambi standing beside Spice's man near a black car. She couldn't hear what they were saying, but she saw them laughing. Then she saw something else. Bambi placed her hand on his arm. It wasn't dramatic. It lasted maybe 2 seconds. But it was enough. The makeup artist immediately opened her group chat with 2 other women from the cast circle. Girl, you're not gonna believe what I just saw. Within seconds, the typing bubbles appeared. What happened? She looked up again at the parking lot, watching as Bambi and Spice's man continued talking near the car. Then she typed 4 words that would soon start spreading across Atlanta like wildfire. Bambi, with Spice Man, the responses exploded instantly. You lying, stop playing at the same time. Across town. Spice was sitting inside her car with her manager, still discussing plans for her next performance. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down at the screen. It was one of the girls from the group chat. Spice frowned slightly. Hold on, she muttered, opening the message. The text read simple and direct. Girl, where your man at? Spice stared at the screen for a moment. What kind of question is that? She said quietly. Her manager looked over. What happened? Spice didn't answer right away. Instead, she typed back quickly. With me earlier. Why? The typing bubble appeared immediately. Then another message came through. Because somebody just saw him with Bambi. Spice's smile slowly faded. Inside the studio parking lot. Bambi leaned against the car door, while Spice's man said something that made her laugh again. Neither of them realized that across the city, a storm had just started building. And by the time the sun came up over Atlanta the next morning, the rumors would already be spreading faster than anyone could control. The next morning, Atlanta woke up to whispers that were moving faster than anyone expected. In this circle, rumors didn't travel slowly, they exploded. Group chats buzzed, phones lit up. And by noon, people who weren't even at the studio were already talking about the same thing. Bambi with Spice's man. Some people insisted it was nothing. Others said they had heard even more. Spice, however, was not in the mood for gossip. She sat in her kitchen, scrolling through her phone while her manager stood nearby, watching her expression slowly change. People love drama, Spice muttered. Her manager crossed his arms. You sure that's all this is? Spice looked up sharply. What that's supposed to mean? He hesitated for a second. I'm just saying. If 3 different people saying they saw something, Spice cut him off immediately. Saw what exactly? That was the problem. Nobody had a clear answer. One person said they were talking in the lounge. Another said they left the studio at the same time. Someone else said they were standing next to the same car in the parking lot. None of it sounded like proof, but it sounded like trouble. Spice locked her phone and stood up. I'm calling him. Across town, Spice's man was still half asleep when his phone started ringing. He glanced at the screen. Spice, he answered casually. Morning. Her voice came through calm but sharp. Where you was after the studio last night? He sat up slowly. What you mean? Don't play with me, Spice said. Where you was? He rubbed his face. I went home. Straight home. Yeah. There was a pause on the line. Then Spice spoke again. You see Bambi last night? He frowned. Yeah. Everybody saw Bambi last night. She was at the studio. Spice's voice got quieter. You talked to her? Yeah, we talked. Everybody was talking. Another pause. He could feel the tension building through the phone. Why? He asked. Spice exhaled slowly. Because people telling me they saw you 2 together outside. He blinked. Together, how? Don't act confused. I'm not acting confused, he said quickly. We walked out the same time. That's it. That's it? Yeah. Spice didn't respond immediately. Then she said something that made the conversation even colder. So you didn't stand there laughing with her in the parking lot? He paused. I mean, we talked for a minute. Spice closed her eyes. For a minute, yeah. And you ain't think to tell me that. Tell you what, he said defensively. That I spoke to somebody at the studio. The tension snapped. Don't twist it. Spice snapped. You know exactly what I'm asking you. He leaned forward on the bed. Nothing happened. That's not what people saying. People always saying something. Spice ended the call. Just like that. Her manager stared at her. You believe him? Spice placed the phone on the table slowly. I believe one thing, she said. What? This about to get messy. Meanwhile, Bambi had no idea how fast the rumor was spreading. She was inside a boutique on Peachtree Street trying on sunglasses when her phone began buzzing non-stop. First, 1 message, then 5, then 10. She finally opened one from a friend. Girl, why everybody saying you with Spice Man? Bambi frowned immediately. What? She quickly typed back. What are you talking about? Another message came instantly. They saying y'all was together last night after the studio. Bambi rolled her eyes. Oh my god. The store clerk glanced over. Everything okay? Bambi shook her head while typing furiously. People bored, but the messages kept coming. Friends, acquaintances, even people she barely talked to, all asking the same question. Finally, one message appeared that made her stop walking. It was from someone inside the cast circle. Spice heard about it. Bambi lowered the phone slowly. Nah, she muttered. She stepped outside the store and immediately dialed a number. After 3 rings, the call connected. Hello? Girl, tell me why people saying I'm messing with Spice Man. Her friends sighed. Because that's the rumor going around right now. Bambi laughed in disbelief. Over what? They saying y'all left the studio together. So? Bambi snapped. 20 people left the studio. Yeah, but apparently somebody saw y'all talking in the parking lot. Bambi leaned against the wall. We was talking. For like 2 minutes. That's all it takes. Bambi shook her head. This is stupid. But even as she said it, she knew something worse was coming. Because if Spice had already heard the rumor, confrontation was inevitable. And Spice was not known for letting things slide. Later that evening, several members of the Love and Hip Hop Circle gathered at a lounge downtown for a small event. The vibe should have been relaxed. Music was playing, cameras were around, drinks were flowing. But underneath the surface, everyone was waiting for the same moment. When Spice and Bambi ended up in the same room, people whispered quietly near the bar. You think they gonna address it? Oh, it's definitely coming up. Spice already knows. Yeah, but does Bambi know Spice knows? About 30 minutes later, the doors opened again. Bambi walked in, wearing a bright outfit and sunglasses. She looked confident as always. But several people immediately pulled out their phones. The whispers started instantly. She heard, oh this, about to be crazy. Bambi walked over to the bar, greeting people casually. What's up y'all? But she noticed the strange looks almost immediately. Why everybody staring at me like that? One girl laughed nervously. Girl, you know why? Bambi frowned. Before she could ask more questions, another voice echoed from across the room. Oh, so you decided to show up. Everybody turned. Spice had just entered. The music suddenly felt quieter. Spice walked forward slowly. Her eyes locked directly on Bambi. No smile. No greeting. Just pure tension. Bambi straightened slightly. Hey Spice. Spice stopped a few feet away. Hey. The room held its breath. One of the cast members whispered near the wall. Here we go. Spice crossed her arms. So I've been hearing some interesting stories today. Bambi raised an eyebrow. About what? Spice laughed once. Not a happy laugh. You serious right now? Bambi glanced around the room. Yeah, I'm serious. Spice stepped closer. People telling me you've been real comfortable around my man. A murmur spread across the lounge. Bambi blinked slowly. Then she laughed. You mean the 2-minute conversation in the parking lot? Spice's eyes narrowed. So you admit it. Admit what? Bambi said. We talked. Spice's voice rose slightly. Why you talking to him like that? Like what? Bambi shot back. Don't play dumb. I'm not playing dumb. Bambi said. I spoke to him like I speak to anybody. Spice shook her head. That's not what people telling me. Bambi folded her arms. Well, people lying. Spice leaned closer. So you didn't have your hand on his arm. The room exploded with whispers. Bambi's expression changed slightly. For 2 seconds, she said. Spice laughed again. 2 seconds. Yeah, 2 seconds. Spice turned briefly to the crowd. See, that's funny. Then she turned back. Because when somebody touching my man, I got questions. Bambi's voice hardened. Don't make it sound like something it's not. Then explain it. There's nothing to explain. Bambi said. We was talking and I touched his arm for a second. That's it. Spice stared at her. You expect me to believe that? Yes. Nah. Bambi stepped forward. Spice, you doing too much right now. The words hung in the air. Spice's jaw tightened. I'm doing too much. Yeah. Spice laughed sharply. You touching my man and I'm doing too much. You making it bigger than it was. Maybe because I know how people move, Spice snapped. The crowd shifted nervously. One of the cast members whispered, "This about to explode." Bambi shook her head. "I don't want your man." Spice leaned in closer. "Then stay out his space." "I wasn't in his space. Clearly you was." Bambi exhaled slowly. "You know what? Believe whatever you want." Spice stared at her for a long moment. Then she said something that instantly changed the energy again. "Maybe I should just ask him." A ripple moved through the room, because suddenly everyone realized something. Spice's man had not arrived yet. Bambi glanced around. "Where is he anyway?" Someone whispered. Almost on cue, the door opened. Spice's man walked inside. He froze immediately when he saw the crowd staring at him. Then he saw Spice. Then Bambi, standing face to face. "Oh, here we go," someone muttered. Spice didn't even look away from Bambi as she spoke. Perfect timing. Bambi folded her arms again. Spice finally turned toward him. "Tell everybody what happened last night." The entire lounge went silent. Spice's man looked confused. "What you mean?" "You know exactly what I mean," Spice said. He glanced at Bambi. She looked back at him calmly. "We talked in the parking lot," he said slowly. Spice nodded. And that's it." Spice tilted her head. "So she didn't touch you?" He hesitated. The hesitation lasted less than 2 seconds. But it was enough for everyone to notice. "I mean, she might have touched my arm or something while we were talking." The crowd erupted into whispers again. Spice looked back at Bambi. Bambi shook her head. "This is ridiculous." But Spice's expression had already changed. Because now the rumor had just become something else. Confirmation. And suddenly the tension inside the room felt like it might snap at any second. Bambi stepped forward slightly. "You really about to turn this into drama over nothing?" Spice's voice dropped lower. "Maybe because I don't like surprises." There was no surprise. People saying different. Bambi looked around the room at the watching faces. "See this what happens when everybody bored." Spice shook her head slowly. "No. This what happens when people forget boundaries." Bambi's patience finally cracked. "Girl, you acting like I tried to steal your man." Spice stared directly at her. "Did you prefer? Did you?" The room went silent again. Bambi laughed in disbelief. "You serious right now?" Spice didn't blink. And that's when someone near the door suddenly shouted, "Wait. That's not even the craziest part." Everyone turned. The voice belonged to one of the girls from earlier that day. She held up her phone. "Because somebody else just sent me something." The entire room leaned forward. Spice frowned. "Sent you what?" The girl hesitated for a second. Then she said the words that made the entire situation even worse. "A video?" Bambi's smile faded instantly. Spice's eyes locked onto the phone. "Show me." The room went completely silent as the girl slowly walked toward Spice with the phone in her hand. Nobody laughed anymore. Nobody whispered. Every single person in that lounge leaned forward, trying to see what was on the screen. Spice held out her hand. "Let me see it." The girl hesitated for a second. "I just got it sent to me." "Then show it." She handed the phone over. Spice stared down at the screen as the video began to play. At first it was shaky. The lighting looked like it came from a street lamp outside the studio. The angle was distant, like someone had filmed it from across the parking lot. But after a second, the shapes became clear. 2 figures standing beside a car. Bambi and Spice's man. The room filled with low gasps. "Oh, that's them." Bambi stepped closer. "Let me see that." Spice didn't move. She kept watching. The video showed exactly what people had described earlier. Bambi leaning casually against the car door, while Spice's man stood in front of her. They were laughing about something. The conversation couldn't be heard. But then the moment came. Bambi reached out and placed her hand on his arm. The clip lasted only a few seconds longer before it ended. Spice slowly lowered the phone. The silence inside the lounge felt heavy. Bambi crossed her arms again. "That's what everybody losing their minds over." Spice didn't answer right away. She looked at Spice's man first. "So you didn't think this was worth mentioning earlier?" He shrugged slightly. "It's nothing." Spice laughed under her breath. "Nothing." Bambi shook her head. "Because it is nothing." The girl who had brought the video spoke up again. "That's not the full clip though." Everybody turned toward her. Spice frowned. "What you mean?" The person who sent it said, "There's more." The room erupted with whispers again. Spice's man shifted uncomfortably. "More of what?" The girl looked down at her phone again as another message popped up. She opened it. Her eyes widened slightly. They just sent another part. Spice held out her hand again. "Give it here." The girl passed the phone over once more. This time, when Spice pressed play, the video continued where the last one ended. The two figures were still standing beside the car. Bambi said something. Spice's man leaned closer to hear her. And for a split second, it looked like their faces were extremely close. Close enough to make the room react. Someone near the bar covered their mouth. Bambi immediately stepped forward. "Give me that phone." Spice didn't hand it over. Instead, she replayed the moment again. The clip froze right at the second where their faces were inches apart. Spice turned the screen slowly so Bambi could see it. "You still telling me this is nothing?" Bambi stared at the screen. Her expression tightened. "That angle makes it look worse than it was." Spice's voice rose. "Worse than what?" "We were talking," Bambi said firmly. "People lean in when they talk. That looked like talking to you." Spice snapped. Spice's man stepped forward. "It wasn't like that." Spice shot him a look so sharp he stopped speaking immediately. The tension in the room thickened. People were pulling out their phones now, texting friends about what they were witnessing. Because this was no longer just a rumor. This was a confrontation. Bambi placed her hands on her hips. "Y'all really turning a conversation into a whole scandal." Spice stepped closer again. "Because something about this don't sit right with me." "That's your insecurity talking." The entire room reacted. "Ugh." Spice's eyes flashed. "What did you just say?" Bambi didn't back down. "I said you reaching." Spice laughed once. But there was no humor in it. "Nah. What you said was I'm insecure." Bambi shrugged. "If the shoe fit." Spice took another step forward. Now the two women were only a foot apart. "You got a lot of nerve." "I got honesty," Bambi replied. Spice shook her head slowly. "You know what the crazy part is?" Bambi raised an eyebrow. "What?" Spice pointed at the phone. "This video don't even show the whole story." Bambi frowned. "What are you talking about?" Spice turned toward her man. "Tell her." He hesitated again. Everyone noticed. "Tell her what?" Bambi said sharply. Spice's man rubbed the back of his neck. After the video ended, we kept talking. Bambi stared at him. "Yeah, we talked for another minute." Spice interrupted. "Tell her what you said." Bambi looked confused now. What is she talking about? He shifted his weight again. The room waited. Asked her something. Bambi frowned deeper. "You asked me what studio she worked at sometimes," she said. Spice shook her head. "Nah, that's not the question." Bambi's voice hardened. "What question?" Spice's man looked trapped between them. "I asked if she ever thought about doing music with me." The room went quiet again. Bambi blinked. "Yeah, you did." Spice folded her arms. "And what did you say back?" Bambi rolled her eyes. "I said maybe." Spice laughed again. "Maybe." Bambi's patience was thinning. "Spice, what is the problem?" Spice gestured toward the phone. "The problem is you looking real comfortable around somebody you shouldn't be comfortable with." He asked me about music. "In the parking lot at 2 in the morning." Spice snapped. The room buzzed again. Bambi raised her voice slightly. "People talk about business anytime." Spice leaned closer. "Not like that." Bambi scoffed. "You acting like we was sneaking around." Spice didn't respond. Instead, she said something that made the entire room freeze again. "Because that's not the only video." Bambi's expression changed. "What?" The girl near the door slowly raised her phone again. Actually, everyone turned toward her. They just sent something else. Spice extended her hand without even looking. The girl handed over the phone immediately. Spice pressed play. This clip was different. It was shorter, but the angle was clearer. This time the camera was closer to the two figures. And the moment it started playing, several people gasped loudly, because this clip showed the moment right after their conversation ended. Bambi stepping away from the car. Spice's man saying something that made her laugh again. Then, for a quick second, he pulled her into a half hug. The room erupted. "What? Nah." Bambi's eyes widened. That was a goodbye hug. Spice slowly lifted her eyes from the screen. "A goodbye hug?" "Yes." Spice looked at her man. "You hug her?" He nodded cautiously. "Yeah, but it was nothing." Spice laughed again. But this time, the laugh sounded almost dangerous. "First it was nothing." She pointed at the screen. "Now it's hugs." Bambi shook her head in disbelief. "Oh my god." The tension exploded. People started speaking all at once. "This is wild. I knew something was up. Y'all really hugging in parking lots now." Bambi raised her voice. "It was a friendly hug." Spice stepped forward again. "You don't hug my man." "Girl, we all know each other," Bambi snapped. "Not like that. You being dramatic." Spice pointed directly at her. "Don't tell me how to react." Bambi threw her hands in the air. "Because this is ridiculous." Spice's man tried to step between them. "Both of y'all calm down." Spice turned on him instantly. "Don't tell me to calm down." He backed up slightly. "I'm just saying it's not what it looks like." Spice looked back at the phone, then back at Bambi. Then something in her expression changed, like a realization had just hit her. You know what? Bambi crossed her arms again. What now? Spice tilted her head slowly. You real comfortable defending this? Because there's nothing to defend. Spice nodded slowly. Maybe. Then she leaned closer and said something quietly. Or maybe you just mad the video got out. The room reacted instantly. Ugh. Bambi's eyes flashed. You really accusing me right now? Spice didn't blink. I'm asking questions. No, Bambi said sharply. You making accusations? Spice shrugged. If it looks like something. Bambi stepped forward. Finish that sentence. The tension felt electric now. Spice opened her mouth to speak again, but suddenly someone near the back of the room shouted, "Wait!" Everyone turned again. Another cast member was staring at his phone. His face looked stunned. Nah, this just got worse. Spice frowned. What now? He slowly lifted his phone, because apparently, he paused. The entire room leaned in. Someone from the studio staff just posted something online. Bambi's stomach dropped slightly. Spice stepped closer. Posted what? The man turned the phone screen around so everyone could see. It was a screenshot, a caption under a blurry photo. The caption read, Atlanta studio after party got crazy last night. Bambi and Spice. Man was flirting all night. The room exploded. Voices shouting, people gasping, phones coming out everywhere. Bambi stared at the screen in disbelief. That's a lie. Spice looked from the screenshot to Bambi, to her man. The tension in her voice dropped to a cold whisper. All night, Bambi shook her head furiously. That's not true. But the damage had already been done. Because now the rumor wasn't just inside one lounge anymore. It was online, spreading across Atlanta in real time. And suddenly the entire room realized something. By morning, fans everywhere would be talking about the same question. Did Bambi really mess with Spice's man? And the worst part was, the night wasn't even over yet. The moment that post hit the internet, everything inside the lounge shifted from tense to explosive. Phones were lighting up across the room as people refreshed their screens, watching the rumor spread in real time. Notifications kept popping up. Comments, reposts, screenshots. Within minutes, the caption was already circulating across fan pages and gossip blogs. Atlanta studio after party got crazy last night. Bambi and Spice Man was flirting all night. Bambi stared at the screen like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. That is a straight-up lie. Spice folded her arms slowly. Funny how everybody lying today. Bambi shook her head. Because they are lying. Spice's voice dropped again. Everybody yes. The people at the studio, yes. The video. That video shows nothing. The hug. It was friendly. Spice laughed quietly. The internet about to eat this up. Someone near the bar muttered under their breath. They already are. The entire room felt like a pressure cooker about to explode. People were whispering to each other, some looking uncomfortable. Others clearly entertained by the drama unfolding in front of them. Because moments like this were exactly what reality TV lived for. Bambi turned toward the crowd suddenly. Any of y'all in that studio last night? No, I was not flirting with him. A few people looked down at their drinks. Others avoided eye contact. That silence said more than words. Bambi scoffed. What? Spice tilted her head. See, that's interesting. Bambi snapped her head back toward her. What's interesting? Nobody rushing to defend you. Bambi's jaw tightened. Because everybody's scared to get dragged into your paranoia. Spice stepped closer again. You calling me paranoid? Yes. The tension cracked again. Ugh. Spice pointed toward the phone. You leaning all close to him. Talking. Touching him. 4 seconds. Hugging him. Goodbye. And now a whole studio saying y'all was flirting. They lying. Spice looked at her carefully. Why would they lie? Bambi didn't answer immediately. Because that was the one question she didn't have a clean response for. The silence stretched for a few seconds. Spice's man finally spoke again. This is getting blown way out of proportion. Spice turned toward him slowly. Oh, now it is. Yes. Was it blown out of proportion when you forgot to mention the hug? He sighed. I didn't think it mattered. Spice laughed sharply. Everything matters when it comes to respect. Bambi threw her hands up. I am not responsible for your relationship issues. The room reacted loudly again. Spice stepped closer until they were almost nose to nose. This ain't about relationship issues. Then what is it? Boundaries. Bambi held her ground. I didn't cross any. Spice shook her head slowly. You crossed plenty. Before Bambi could respond, another loud gasp came from across the room. The same girl who had shown the first video was staring at her phone again. Oh my god. Everyone turned. Spice sighed impatiently. What now? The girl looked up with wide eyes. It's on a fan page. What is the video? The room erupted. No way. Already. That fast. The girl turned her phone around so everyone could see the screen. There it was. A popular gossip page had already uploaded the parking lot clip. The caption read, "Is Bambi getting too close to Spice Man?" The comment count was climbing every second. Hundreds, then thousands. People in the room began reading the comments out loud. One fan said she knew something was going on. Another one saying, "Spice deserves better." Somebody said Bambi always been messy. Bambi grabbed her own phone quickly. Her heart dropped as soon as she opened social media. The clip was everywhere. Reposted again. And again. And again. Her name was trending. Bambi Spice Atlanta drama. She exhaled slowly. This is insane. Spice watched her carefully. Welcome to the internet. Bambi looked up again. You enjoying this? Spice shrugged. I didn't post it, but you feeding into it. I'm responding to what I see. Bambi shook her head. You already made up your mind. Spice's eyes hardened. Because the evidence keeps stacking up. What evidence? Spice pointed at the screen again. That's a conversation. Looks like flirting. To you. Spice was about to reply when suddenly Spice's man's phone began ringing loudly. Everyone turned toward him. He glanced at the screen. His face changed immediately. Spice noticed. Who is that? He hesitated. Nobody. Spice stepped closer. Let me see. He pulled the phone away slightly. It's nothing. Spice's voice sharpened. Show me. The entire room watched the exchange carefully, because something about his reaction suddenly felt suspicious. After a second, he finally turned the phone around. The caller name flashed across the screen. Mom. Spice rolled her eyes slightly. Your mom calling during all this? He declined the call quickly. She probably saw something online. Someone near the couch laughed quietly. That didn't take long. But before anyone could say more, his phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a call. It was a notification. A message. Spice noticed the preview before he could lock the screen, and what she saw made her eyes narrow instantly. The message was from an unknown number, and it read, "You two looked real close last night." Spice grabbed the phone before he could react. Who sent this? He looked shocked. I don't know. She opened the message thread. There was a photo attached. Spice tapped it. The room leaned in again, and the moment the image appeared on the screen, several people gasped, because this photo was even clearer than the video. It showed the exact moment Bambi and Spice's man were standing close beside the car, their faces inches apart, and from this angle, it looked almost like they were about to kiss. Bambi's eyes widened. That angle is crazy. Spice stared at the photo for a long moment, then she slowly looked up. Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You still telling me nothing happened? Bambi shook her head. Nothing did happen. Spice laughed again. Because right now, it looked like something happened. Bambi stepped closer. Looks and reality are two different things. Spice leaned in. Then explain why somebody texting him pictures of you two. Bambi paused. That part she couldn't explain either. Spice's man looked frustrated. This is getting out of hand. Spice turned toward him again. You think? He ran a hand through his hair. Someone clearly trying to start drama. Bambi nodded quickly. Exactly. Spice looked between them both. Funny how y'all suddenly agreeing. Bambi rolled her eyes. Because we both know this is nonsense. Spice looked back down at the photo again. Then she said something quietly. Or maybe someone saw more than this. Bambi frowned. What does that mean? Spice didn't answer right away. Instead, she slowly handed the phone back to her man. Then she turned toward the room. People were watching like they were witnessing the finale of a season. Spice spoke calmly now. Too calmly. I'm done arguing. Bambi blinked. What? Spice looked directly at her. Because the truth always comes out. Bambi folded her arms. The truth already out. Spice smiled faintly. We'll see. Bambi scoffed. That's not the threat you think it is. Spice leaned slightly closer again. It's not a threat. She paused, then added quietly, it's a warning. The tension in the room spiked again. Bambi stared at her. You trying to intimidate me now? Spice shrugged. If the shoe fits. Bambi shook her head slowly. I swear this is the dumbest drama ever. Someone near the back suddenly whispered loudly. Not to the internet. Everyone glanced at their phones again. The video had already crossed hundreds of thousands of views. Reaction pages were posting it. Fans were debating. Comment sections were exploding. Team Spice, Team Bambi, people picking sides in real time. Bambi looked up from her phone again. This is exactly why I hate social media. Spice tilted her head. Maybe next time think about that before hugging somebody man in a parking lot. Bambi laughed sarcastically. Oh my god. Spice's man sighed loudly. Both of y'all need to relax. Spice shot him a glare again. You should have relaxed before all this started. The room reacted again. The tension was now at a boiling point. Bambi stepped forward again. Let's get one thing clear. Spice raised an eyebrow. Go ahead. Bambi spoke slowly and clearly. I did not flirt with your man. Spice didn't respond. I did not try to get with your man. Still silence. And if you really think I would do that, Bambi leaned closer. Then you never knew me. Spice stared at her for a long moment. The entire room held its breath. Then Spice finally spoke. Quiet, calm, cold. Maybe I'm just starting to see the real you. The words hit like a spark in gasoline. Bambi's patience snapped completely. You know what? She grabbed her purse from the bar. Believe whatever story you want. Spice crossed her arms again. Don't worry. I will. Bambi shook her head. This whole situation is ridiculous. She turned toward the door. People moved aside to let her pass. But right before she reached the exit, someone near the couch shouted again. Wait. Bambi stopped, slowly turning back. What now? The man holding his phone looked stunned. The fan page just posted another update. Spice frowned. What update? He turned the phone around. Everyone leaned in again. The caption on the screen read, News source claims there was more than a hug between Bambi and Spiceman last night. The room erupted. What? Nah. Bambi's face went pale with disbelief. That is a damn lie. Spice slowly looked up from the phone. Her voice was barely above a whisper. More than a hug. The entire lounge felt frozen, because now the drama had crossed into something even more dangerous. Allegations, and the internet was just getting started. So now the question everyone is asking is simple. What really happened that night in the studio parking lot? Was it truly just an innocent conversation that got twisted by cameras, rumors, and social media? Or did the video capture something that Spice had every right to question? Fans are shocked by how quickly the situation spiraled out of control. 1 minute it was a quiet late-night studio session, and the next minute the entire internet was debating whether Bambi crossed a line with Spice's man. Emotions ran high, accusations flew, and the friend circle was left completely divided. Some people believe Bambi's side of the story. They say the internet blew a small moment completely out of proportion. According to them, a quick hug and a conversation doesn't mean betrayal, but others aren't so convinced. They say the body language in those clips tells a different story. The way they stood close, the way they laughed together, and that now viral hug in the parking lot. For many fans, it raised serious questions. And what about Spice? From her perspective, the situation looked suspicious from the start. When videos, screenshots, and online rumors began piling up, it only made the tension worse. And with new claims now surfacing online saying there may have been more than what was shown in the clips, the drama may be far from over. Because if there's one thing we know about Atlanta's reality TV circle, it's that secrets rarely stay hidden for long. So now we want to hear from you. Do you think Bambi was completely innocent and the internet turned nothing into a scandal? Or do you think Spice had every right to confront her after seeing those videos and photos? Drop your opinion in the comments right now because this debate is getting heated and fans everywhere are choosing sides. And if you enjoy deep dives into reality TV drama, shocking celebrity moments, and stories that everyone is talking about, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next explosive story. Because trust us, if more details come out about what really happened that night in Atlanta, you're definitely going to want to hear about it. They say the body language in those clips tells a different story. The way they stood close, the way they laughed together, and that now viral hug in the parking lot. For many fans, it raised serious questions. And what about Spice? From her perspective, the situation looked suspicious from the start. When videos, screenshots, and online rumors began piling up, it only made the tension worse. And with new claims now surfacing online saying there may have been more than what was shown in the clips, the drama may be far from over. Because if there's one thing we know about Atlanta's reality TV circle, it's that secrets rarely stay hidden for long. So now we want to hear from you. Do you think Bambi was completely innocent and the internet turned nothing into a scandal? Or do you think Spice had every right to confront her after seeing those videos and photos? Drop your opinion in the comments right now because this debate is getting heated and fans everywhere are choosing sides. And if you enjoy deep dives into reality TV drama, shocking celebrity moments, and stories that everyone is talking about, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next explosive story. Because trust us, if more details come out about what really happened that night in Atlanta, you're definitely going to want to hear about it.